Now, we talked about this earlier. When the Declaration of Independence was adopted, I guess you put it, one of the bold claims in the Declaration of Independence was a distinction that the writers of the Declaration made, primarily Thomas Jefferson, between divine right and natural rights. It's not in the document, but this is what it's about. And we talked about this before, about where people get their rights from, but we talked about it in connection to, in relation to totalitarian forms of government. This is a little bit different. The notion of divine right was the idea that kings ruled by divine right. What did that mean? They ruled by divine right.
They were chosen by God.
Exactly. They were chosen by God to rule. That's why they ruled. God had picked them to rule, divine right. And so when you have a king who has been selected by God to rule, the idea is that any rights that you have as a citizen were given to you by the king. And just like in the totalitarian form of government, if the king gives you your rights, what can the king also do? He can take them away. Right? In the Declaration of Independence, what they argued, and the argument was, the basic idea, was that there are certain natural rights. Certain natural rights. Who gives, and the source of these rights, that's down at the bottom, who gives us these rights? Where do we get our natural rights from?
From God.
From God. And again, I'm not questioning if somebody's an atheist or doesn't believe in God. I'm just telling you what the framers said. That people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness by virtue of being human beings. I think, David, you were the one who said, like, just because we're humans, right? By virtue of being human beings, by virtue of being children of God, we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in the Declaration of Independence, one of the things that Jefferson argued is he said, we have these rights. These rights, the word is inalienable. You cannot take these rights away from us. They cannot be stripped from us. They're given to us by God. And that governments are formed to protect citizens' natural rights. That's what governments are supposed to do. That we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the job of the government is to protect those rights. That's a bold claim. In a world where there are mostly kings ruling, the idea that people get their rights from God and not from the king is very much a threat to the kings who are in power right now. And so the idea is that when we get involved in a government, we sign what we call a social contract. Before there was any government, before governments are established, are there any laws? No, there's no laws. We're totally free. We can do whatever we want. We want to go bash somebody's head and try and take their food, we can do it. It's not like a cop's going to pull us over and go, oh, excuse me, let me see your ID. Right? There are no laws. We're all totally free. When we go ahead and set up governments, what we do is we basically give up some of our liberty, the freedom to do whatever we want, in exchange for some order. We're going to set some rules. We're going to agree to follow those rules. That's what we mean by a social contract. We're making a contract with everybody and with the government. We're going to give up some of our liberty. You go ahead and you provide some order. Well, in the Declaration of Independence, what Jefferson said was if a government goes ahead and fails to protect our natural rights, we get involved in this social contract, we give up some of our liberty in exchange for order, and if the government fails to protect our natural rights, the citizens have the right and the duty to overthrow the government. If the government isn't protecting our natural rights, citizens have the right and the duty to overthrow the government. Now, if you're a king, well, let you finish writing that down. The right and the duty to overthrow the government.
What, I spaced out for a bit. Source of citizens' right for the king ruled by divine right?
Up here?
Not natural rights, but above it?
Oh, yeah. What was the source of the rights, source of citizens' rights? The king. And then the key there is what? Why is that important to identify that in this notion of divine right, your rights come from the king? Why is that important? We talked about that.
You can take them away.
Right. Michael's got it right. If the king gave you your rights, the king can take them back away. In this notion of natural rights, God gives you those rights and nobody can take them away. So if you're a king, reading this Declaration of Independence, you got to be a little bit worried. You know, prior to this, the idea was, oh, I'm in charge because God selected me. And I get to give people rights as I see fit. Here's Thomas Jefferson saying, oh, wait, here's the thing. Governments are created to protect natural rights that people have that are given to them by God. God's like concerned about people and giving them rights. And if I as king don't protect those natural rights, then citizens, according to this document, have a right and a responsibility, a duty to overthrow me and replace me. Now, if you're a king during this time, it's like, I think the response is, oh shit, these people really believe this? This is crazy. And hence we have a war with Britain. This is the idea behind our founding. Okay? Now, some of you may know this and some of you may not. The Constitution of the United States, the one that we're currently working under, could actually be called the second Constitution of the United States. Because we had a constitution, a first constitution. It was called the Articles of Confederation. This was the first document that the framers drew up, the first plan for how they were going to set up the government. And I want to talk about that